If you make between $40 to $150 or pounds per year, is it better for you to live in the United States of America or in the Great United Kingdom? Well, in this video, we will break this down for you with 10 head-to-head rounds where we're going to compare 10 financial factors you absolutely want to take into consideration if you're someone in the middle class. We're going to go from salaries, taxes, housing, healthcare, retirement, and many other economic factors affecting your day-to-day life to figure out the best nation for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So round 1. In which country do you keep the most money after taxes? At the time of this video, in the US, the median household income after federal and state taxes comes out to roughly $44,000 a year for Americans. In the UK, however, the median household takes home around £25,000 a year after taxes, which converts to about $34,000 US. This means Americans are keeping about $10,000 more per year just from the start. But let's see if that's enough to cover every other expense that we will mention in a second. That said, round 1 goes to the United States with a 1-0 lead. Round 2. Which country has the cheapest cost of housing? To figure this out, let's look at how affordable homes actually are relative to what people earn. We won't simply look at the average home price, but the average home price compared to the average household income. Basically, how many years of your full salary would it take to buy an average home? At the time of this video, the average home costs in the US is around $400,000, and the median household income sits around $75,000. That gives you a ratio of about 5.3. In the UK, the average home is roughly £270,000, but the median income is around £45,000. That gives you a ratio of about 6.0. So basically, as you can see here, it usually requires less time of work for Americans to buy a house, especially if you also take into consideration the fact that the US middle class is less taxed in the first place. So round 2 goes to the United States as well for a 2-0 lead. So now round 3. Where is it cheaper to own a car? When you add up the car payment, gas, insurance, maintenance, registration fees, and everything else, the average American spends around $900 a month on car ownership at the time of this video. However, in the UK, that number is roughly £600 a month, which is about $800 US. So on paper, the UK looks cheaper, but that's not the full story. In reality, Americans drive a lot more. To be more precise, US drivers log about twice the annual mileage of UK drivers. The reasons are quite simple. American roads are longer, the cities are more spread out, and public transit is basically non-existent in a lot of areas. So you're getting a lot more use out of that $900. So if we truly compared apples with apples, you would notice that in the US, you get more for what you pay. But in any case, this round was purely looking at the realistic monthly expense of owning a car, and the UK remains cheaper overall. So this round goes to the UK, for a simple 2-1 lead for America now. Next round, healthcare costs. You probably can predict this one quite easily, but let me still explain. Let's look at the average out-of-pocket healthcare costs for a family of 4 in both nations. At the time of this video, if you include employer premiums, out-of-pocket premiums, deductibles, co-pays, dental, vision, and every other costly medical expenses, you'll realize that it comes on average roughly $900 a month or more for the typical American family. And that's not even counting surprise medical bills or anything serious happening. That $900 is just the baseline to stay covered. That gives you a good idea of why medical bills are the #1 reason for bankruptcy in the US middle class. In the UK, however, the National Health Service is funded through taxes, so most basic healthcare is free at the point of use. When you factor in things like dental visits, prescriptions, optical care, and any top-up private coverage some people choose to get, the average UK family of 4 spends around £200 a month, which currently represents about $260 US. So yeah, that's not even comparable. And that's why the UK ties it at 2-2 with America. Now for round 5, let's look at the cheapest cost of living for everyday goods. So we're not counting housing, car ownership, or healthcare here. We already covered those. This is about groceries, utilities, eating out, clothing, electronics, and general lifestyle costs. In this round, there are a few categories where the US clearly wins here. Electronics, tech products, and clothing, for examples, are usually cheaper in America for a multitude of reasons. If you're a gadget person or love shopping for clothes, the US has an edge. But when you look at groceries, utilities, eating out, and general household goods, the UK tends to come in slightly cheaper overall. So it's not a dramatic difference. We're talking about maybe a few percent here and there, but across a full year or decade, it adds up pretty fast. And speaking of costs of living, if you want to save more money whether you live in America, the UK, or any other nation, I suggest you consider using budget planners. These books help you track your income and expenses on a daily to monthly basis and see if you overspend on Uber Eats like I used to do. A lot of people start saving hundreds to sometimes thousands of dollars per month simply by starting to track. If you want to order a book for yourself, I've got Amazon links in the video description. If you end up ordering one, it would directly support the channel as well. Now let's get back. So for this round, it's very close, but the UK edges this one out and takes the lead for the first time with a 3-2 lead. Now round 6. Which country has the best job market opportunities to increase your income? So far, we've been looking at the averages, but what if you're not trying to stay average? What if you're ambitious and want to move up? This is where one wins by far. The US job market is genuinely in a different league when it comes to high-income opportunities. Tech, finance, law, medicine, consulting, or even entrepreneurship. Across almost every high-earning sector, American salaries are significantly higher than their UK equivalents. A software engineer in San Francisco or New York will almost always out-earn one in London, even after adjusting for cost of living. There are also more industries, more companies, more competition for talent, and a culture that's much more oriented around performance-based pay, bonuses, and equity. The ceiling in the US is just higher, and it's not even close when you compare top-end salaries. A US doctor, lawyer, or tech exec can earn 2 or 3 times what someone in the same role earns in the UK. So for this round, America takes the win, and we're back to a 3-3 tie. Round 7. The cheapest childcare and higher education costs. For childcare, the US is brutal. At the time of this video, full-time childcare for one child can run anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month, depending on where you live. But in the UK, thanks to government-funded hours and things like the tax-free childcare scheme, the average cost is closer to £600 a month on average, which is roughly $800. And in many cases, it is even less for younger children once subsidies kick in. But that's just childcare. For higher education, it gets even more stark. In the US, university tuition alone ranges from about $12,000 to $45,000 or more per year, and that's before room, board, and living costs. Student loan debt in America is genuinely one of the biggest financial burdens young adults face. On the other hand, the UK tuition fees are currently capped at around £9,600 per year, which is about $12,000 per year. That is without mentioning that student loan repayments are income contingent, meaning you only pay when you're earning enough. So for middle-class families, this round is a clear win for the UK, which gives them back the lead at 4-3. Now next, paid days off and paid parental leaves. America is one of the few wealthy countries where there is no federal law guaranteeing paid vacation days. 0. Some employers offer it, but many don't. And if they do, it's usually around 10 days if you're lucky. Paid parental leave is also not federally mandated. Some states have introduced their own policies, and some companies offer it, but it's the exception, not the rule. For a lot of American workers, having a baby means unpaid time off, or burning through whatever vacation days they've saved up. In the UK, workers are currently legally entitled to a minimum of 28 paid days off per year. That's the floor, not a bonus, not a perk, just the minimum by law. On top of that, mothers are entitled to up to 39 weeks of paid maternity leave, and fathers get 2 weeks of paid paternity leave. So though it doesn't stop Americans from having more babies on average than the Brits, the UK wins this one easily, which gives them a 5-3 lead. Now round 9, the country with the best basic retirement program. By basic, I mean which government gives you more in retirement income if you haven't invested by yourself in a retirement program or have an employer-funded program. In the US, the Social Security benefit for the average worker at the time of this video is around $994 a month. That's it. For a lot of people, that's not enough to cover even basic living costs, which is why financial advisors in America are constantly telling people to invest in their 401k or IRA. Because if you wait for the federal government to help you, you're waiting for not much. On the other hand, in the UK, the combination of the state pension and other guaranteed benefits for average earners comes out to roughly £1,050 a month, which is about $1,350 US. That's not a huge amount either, but it's meaningfully more than what the average American receives. Not only that, but thanks to the UK's National Health Service, the healthcare costs in retirement don't compound the problem the same way they do in the US. So for middle-class households who never had the income or the financial literacy to invest aggressively, the UK offers a more secure floor. The Brits now lead 6-3. All right, the final round. In which country is the average middle-class household saving the most money at the end of the month after accounting for all necessary expenses? I'm talking about income, housing, car, healthcare, food, kids, all of it. In the US, the average historic personal savings rate at the time of this video is around 5%, which works out to roughly $300 a month for a typical middle-class household. In the UK, the savings rate is closer to 9.9%, translating to about £290 a month, which is roughly $370 US. So UK households are not only saving a higher percentage of their income, they're also saving more in absolute terms once you convert currencies. Now that might feel counterintuitive given that Americans earn more on paper, but when you stack up everything, especially healthcare and childcare costs, it becomes clear that a lot of that extra American income gets eaten up before it ever reaches a savings account. And so the final point goes to the UK for a final score of 7-3. So the UK wins this comparison pretty convincingly. But before you start booking flights to London, it's worth understanding why, because the story is a bit more nuanced than the scoreline suggests. The UK wins largely because of what the government provides. I'm talking about healthcare, parental leave, subsidized education, guaranteed vacation time, a stronger retirement floor, and these things have real, measurable value for middle-class families. But, and this is important, if you're ambitious, if you're willing to work hard and take risks, if you want to build serious wealth or reach the top of your industry, the United States is still the better place to be. The income ceiling is higher, the job market rewards performance more aggressively, and the culture is built around upward mobility in a way the UK simply isn't. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep watching similar videos, click on one of those showing on your screen right now. I'll see you on the next one.